Hello, I'm your reliable host, Lothran, and I've had a rough day. A rough 29 hours or so. Out of respect for what I've already been through, I'm altering my plans ever so slightly. This story is just a smidge out of the order I wanted to relay it in. This is to promote to me a sense of peace. I need that at the moment. Most Jakuls stories are quite dark. This one doesn't really seem that way, and in fact is not. The key point here is that everyone needs a break at some point, and many hours ago I required mine but did not receive it. So grab a snack, settle into your usual spot, get real nice and comfy to fully absorb Decisive Tome. Or I'll shut the book. Fuck me in my boiling shithole. That was wild. Wild? How exactly? One of the men sitting at the table, all of them looked at least a little shocked, creeping onto their faces. This one seemed more incredulous, as if he couldn't be bothered to fully comprehend what had just occurred. The man came out of nowhere, Igni, and you're asking in what way that was wild. One of the four men turned to address the guard in question, while the other two checked to see if their faces were still where they had left them. I've seen tricks like that one before, Igni blustered, smoothing over his plain guard uniform while trying to sound much more calm than anyone in the entire pub was at the current moment. You've seen something like that before? The prodding guard asked of his friend Igni. I've known you my entire life. We've told each other everything, at least I thought. And yes, both of us have seen some strange shit. But a book painting itself into existence in electric lightning nightmare ink, then shitting out a fully formed, painted jackal that popped and crackled until shedding like from an egg of paint a regular normal person, at which point all the paint just sort of dissipated. That you've seen that fucking trick before right now. You've seen that already. What is wrong with you? Why? No, you haven't. I don't believe you. No, you haven't. Everyone paused as Igni gathered his wits and any possible rebuttal to those statements about him, waiting for their friend to make some form of comeback that never occurred. He nodded. He muttered something. He fell silent, looked at the table, and then the room, and at their sudden guest. And the other man spoke once more. Name's Drow. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir, even if you are here to suck out our marrow or whatever. This is a pretty strange situation. You gotta respect that a little bit. He crossed his right hand over his left shoulder, a universal jackal greeting of respect, but a little awkwardly because, well, the situation was the way it was. Rahl settled into a casual, seated position, mulling things over for a short time. He placed a hand on the book, wrapping it in several layers of leather and tying it off with many feet of leather cordage. You know, just to make sure no one opened it unless they were real damn sure about the act. Finally, the archivist returned the gesture, bowing his head ever so slightly toward the other men. He withdrew a bag of gold, a small bag to him. Would this be enough to buy the pub around? He asked. Sound returned to all the hard-working men of the area, each one slowly sliding back into the ruts they had carved from the very nature of their lives. If a little more pleasant than usual, wasn't every day a stranger showed up out of nowhere and offered a free round. Good things were happening to these simple folk. Well, Drow started, this is quite a bit more than we're used to in these parts. I dare say you could buy us all 2 rounds and a bowl of stew each for this price. Huh. Rao began changing his mind halfway through. Yeah, fuck it, do that. He looked away to open a very small bag and made as if to put the massive, dangerous, musty book into said very small pouch. Igni went to comment, but Drow smacked him lightly upside the head, merely pointing for emphasis as Rao shrunk the huge object, seemingly with his mind and his will, which was actually fairly close to what happened, tucking the whole shebang right into an inner pocket of his coat. None of you fellows would happen to know where I am on this fine afternoon, he asked of his new companions. Drow left to pay. In his absence, the third guard spoke up. It's actually late evening. Ah, my mistake. Thank you, kind sir. Rahl summoned up a piece of paper, as if from his thoughts, and drew upon it with the same thoughts, a ghostly pen hovering before him. And, what is the name of this establishment? It's the Wobbly Crawler in the town of... It's more of a hamlet, really. He was interrupted by the fourth and final guard, who had a bit of a head-cold flemularity quality to his voice that Ral found actually quite appealing. Oh, true it is. You are correct, the third guard replied, gesturing for Igni to keep his trap shut. The hamlet of Bleak Bluff has a much better ring to it than the town of Bleak Bluff, the fourth guard chimed back up. And they were correct. Ral copied the information down, shoving the paper back into his mind with 2 fingers, right where it came from. The other men tried not to stare at the oddity constantly happening around them, and their friend Drow returned with a tray of fresh mugs of mead and 4 bowls of stew, 1 for each of them. Thank you, gents. Ral took his brew and meal, digging into them with a gusto, only stopping when both containers of precious, nutrient liquid were completely drained. Drow had a strange sort of smirk on his face, as if he had something rather clever to say, but he kept silent as the mead and food were doled out to the rest of the tavern. Everyone waited over time. They were stuck in the moment, waiting for him to say what. So obviously, he had planted such malicious humor over his thoughts. And it was up to Ral to set it right. Well, go ahead, man. You're putting all of us on edge. Ral insisted to the other man to say his piece and let the other people get to their meals. So, Drow dragged his heels a bit, but just to show that he could. He turned his snide features directly at Ral and no one else. Aiming his weapon true, he said, "You read any good books lately?" His deadpan delivery hitting straight home. Ral was in tears almost instantly, slapping the table with both hands, the other guards and several more tables laughing along to Drow's insinuating, scornfully toned question. It took him a while and quite a few tears and pained bouts of laughter to recover, but Ral finally did calm himself enough to respond, wincing and hurting and feeling the strain on his muscles, and heaving breaths in between his words. "Boy-o, I've got a whopper of a tale for you. You and all your kind. It'll be great, trust me. That was a good one. He spread his arms out as far as they would. And I'm sure only the men at this table might fully respect on this night how good this tale will be. Raoul sprang out of his chair, beckoning to all whom would listen to his tall tale, rolling a gold coin over the fingers of one hand, only to let it drop onto the floor with a clatter and a clang, and then sending it to roll over the other fingers on his opposite hand with just the force of his mind. A gold coin to any man that can sit through the entire story front to back. Drow was the first to reply, slapping his palms together and grinning like an unwashed fool. This is shaping up to be the best night of our very lives! A cheer of joy ripped through the growing crowd of merchants, craftsmen, and soldiers as they awaited the tale that was about to assault their very ears and minds. And so it is, once more, our brief time together must always come to an end. I hope everyone enjoyed tonight's tale. It is very near and dear to me, so familiar. Anywho, I have been your host, Lothran, and this was another tale from the heart of the Jackal, the story of the night having been Decisive Tome, and now to the customary extra, performed by the esteemed Brumble.
Esteemed. Ooh. Fancy. Thanks, Lothran. Okay. Good night, everyone. Leave your comments down below. Like and share to help us grow. And feed a hungry Brumble. That's me. And don't forget, we encourage each and every one of you to stay safe out there. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Brumble says goodbye. Bye-bye.